All right. Welcome, everybody, to Comeback Conversations, episode number 4 with my man, Joel Meyers. Joel Meyers has spent the last 3 days in this office doing an in-person event with myself, with Mark, with Ryan, and with some other guys. We'll put it that way. So I want to welcome Joel to the stage. I want to ask Joel some questions, but I really want to make sure that what we do inside of this conversation is really connect the moments, the feelings, like the emotions, really, between the beginning, right before we click that link to when we click that link to the pain at the beginning, right? It's not easy. A lot of guys come in, myself included. This is not magic, right? You don't just buy a bracelet and all of a sudden we're good to go, but it is a path and it is a process. So Joel has been through this path, this process, ultimately to get here in person. I know this morning I had a conversation with Mark one-on-one on a porch, and that doesn't happen by magic. That happens by work. That happens by action. There are no perfect, perfection's not even a fucking thing. There is no perfect path, but it is a path. It is like the price of gold. It always trends up. It's not always perfect. But Joel, welcome to the episode 4, man. Tell the guys that are listening a little bit about yourself and what it was like right before you started.
Yeah, like right before. My name is Joel. You already said that. I'm married to a beautiful wife, my only girlfriend, my long-term wife of now 15 years. And I tell that part of the story leading up to it because I think it's important that I didn't have some crazy lifestyle. So, it doesn't. I think that's an important piece. I was fortunate to have a wonderful wife to marry and to stick with me when I was being stupid, which I did a lot of that. So got 2 beautiful kids at home as well. And I own my own business in construction right now, so that's what we're doing. Made a lot of mistakes. For the most part, I lost my job a couple times. I went through the standard things of just having drank for no reason all day long every day. And there was the last time I had lost my job, mostly because of drinking. I ended up starting my own company. And because I was drinking, I got taken advantage of, got scammed, lost $40,000 in my first year. So made a lot of really bad mistakes as far as that is concerned financially. So, but I was always successful, and it didn't matter what I touched. It just became better. It doesn't matter what job I had or what business I worked on. I was always able to be successful, to make money, and most of the time I was able to get away with it. Almost every time I was able to operate any company, whether it was $1 million company, a $7 million company, it didn't, a $500,000, $200,000 company, it doesn't matter. Anything I did, it was as if I could operate, completely unabashed while I was drinking, and nobody seemed to know until they did, and so it was always like that. So yeah, I had gotten in a little bit of a trouble, with my wife and kind of the police, but they let me off the hook right before this, and I was just looking for a way out, because I knew I could be better, and I knew I could be more successful in all the areas of my life. And I did the AA thing, and I did what was the other one? Celebrate Recovery. And the problem for those was I was surrounded by a bunch of people who didn't want to win. I'll pause to be nice. There's a lot of people that just didn't want to really change their lives. They just wanted to spend 20 years talking about how they stopped drinking. It's like, great. So you haven't drunk for 20 years. What have you done? Well, nothing. They did nothing. And I'm like, I don't want to be a part of that. It made no sense to me to label myself as an alcoholic and to walk around as an alcoholic and just be, oh, there's Joel the alcoholic. That made no sense to me. That's not a life to live. And I wanted purpose in my life. So, and my wife would say, oh, well, he would go to her groups and talk to her girlfriends about how I'm an alcoholic or how I'm in AA and I'm getting better. But he's getting better. He's now sober. Now when she talks about her husband, she talks about a man who is not drinking. She wasn't talking about a man who was powerful, who built a zip line for their kids in the backyard, who just is willing to climb mountains and go whitewater rafting and paint these beautiful pictures and cook this wonderful meal. That's not the husband she talked about. She talked about the husband who wasn't drinking now. That's good, right? So AA never worked out for that. It made no sense. I just didn't like the label. It's like walking around with you cut your hand off and say, oh, hi, I'm Joel with the guy with no hand. You don't label yourself by your weakness, and so that made no sense. So so when I got a chance to see Mark on there, and the videos, I probably watched him on the regular. I lost him a couple times. The algorithm disappeared or something like that. And I tried to find him again and just watch him. And honestly, I would cry. I would just cry because I knew that there was a better way out. And so that's kind of where I was right before this.
So right before it, right? So, for me, I watch these things for probably a couple of months. I'm doing, drunk, independent fact checking, whatever that even means, research. And eventually get to this place of like, you know what, fuck it, man. I don't know. I'm going to click this thing. I'm going to go see what's up. But where were you at, mentally, emotionally? Where were you at with your wife? Where were you at with your kids? Like it's dark. Like how did it feel? What was the pain like when you went to click that link? Like it's finally fucking time. I've searched, I've played, I've looked. It's fucking time to do something. Like describe just the mindset at that point and the relationship right before that moment.
Yeah, right before that moment. I don't like to even use this word anymore at all, but I would say I was weak. I was an absolute weak person. I absolutely fucking hate. Oh, sorry. I try not to do that.
No, you can swear.
Keep
it real.
Okay. Well, I can't.
Freedom.
We're not on the radio? Oh,
freedom in all things.
Listen, I wanted to, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror at all. I hated myself. I absolutely despised the man that I was looking at in the mirror. In fact, I wouldn't look in the mirror. It would be better not to have a mirror. In fact, I very rarely did I would shave in the shower because it made more sense. I didn't have to look at myself that way. And so I was horribly miserable. I had a business that was operating; it was making money, but I slept 2 hours at a time. Would go to work for 2 hours at a time. I'd sleep for 2 hours at a time or an hour at a time. Sleep in the back of the truck. I hated myself. That's really the biggest thing to say.
That's tough to say.
And my family, they were afraid of me. They were scared of me. Not disappointed. They were scared of me because I'd get angry really fast. I was impatient. I didn't have time for my family. I didn't care about them the way I wanted to or I needed to. And so when I wanted respect from them, I didn't have it. And they didn't owe it to me either. So, and then when I say weak, I cried a lot, like a freaking pansy. I just cried all the time because I so desperately knew that I was better than this, and would just drink to the point where I just couldn't balance my emotions anymore, and so I was an unstable man.
It's you knew what you wanted. It's like being in the ocean and you're drowning. It's simple. I need a raft. Like, what you want. And I was there. Like, I know what I want. I just don't know how to fucking get it. Yeah. And when you come in, now let's start with that. Like, you come in, there's that first call and here's the tools, here's the community. And we kind of fill you up with all kinds of shit. I remember you early on, it was like November. It was around, I think, Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. When you first come in the door, it's a lot to take in. What was the first couple of weeks like? Because you had to taper. Like, this wasn't like,
yes, I
not a guy who drank 2 beers a night and whatever. Like, this was real shit.
I drank really, really, really heavy. Like a gallon, of 99 proof. So it was bad. No, and I joke about quitting cold turkey on Turkey Day because that was the day that was the last one for that, and then I went into the work, and it was a roller coaster. At times, there were times where I was just tired, but then there were times I just had so much energy. I was so stoked all the time, and I still had I started to discover that there was a person that existed in this body, and everything started coming clearer and clearer and clearer. And what was amazing is how quickly, I mean, really, really fast, things started to really change, and visible changes, quantifiable changes, and it was just absolutely incredible. And and all the changes that happened, you just wanted more of it. It was just a constant level of give me more of this, give me more of this freedom. And I stepped back, and my first response was, seriously, all over a drink. This is the guy that could be. But I stopped it with a drink. it's crazy to even think that that's an acceptable way to look at things. And but in every area, my business, I know it's not right away, but we grew massively. It was December, so holiday season. I'm in construction. That's not when people build at all. They just don't. So between November and December, there's no work usually. Well, we grew 55% that month. And then the next month, and then the next month, we doubled the size of our company. And that's just on the business front. And then my relationships with my kids, I mean, that was insane. My kids was the biggest one. It's probably the one I want to avoid talking about the most because it's that deep. And it's when my little girls, I took them out and I asked them individually. This was in the first and second week. I think it was the second week. I asked them individually what if they noticed that anything different. And they're at the time 9 and 7. So out of the mouths of babes, right? They just tell the truth. And their answers were, well, we definitely noticed more difference, a change. And I said, well, what did you notice? And they said, well, you don't take naps anymore. You spend more time with us, and you don't get mad. That was their child-like answers. And it was just a reminder that I was, an asshole.
and just for everybody else, I know, but how old are they? How old are the girls?
So 9 and 7 at the time that I had that conversation with them. Yeah. So, and my wife, I took her on a date and asked her the same question, and she said, "You're patient. You're more patient than I am." And I'm like, because I wasn't before, and so that was huge. On the physical front, I mean, just within weeks, I was running miles at a time. I mean, now I can easily run more than 5K. That's not really. I'm going for 10K now. And so just being able to keep up with my kids and being able to keep up with my wife, because I'm sure she's going to see this. I'm not going to get into too many details, but I'll tell you what, that area improved a lot, because I was able to be more attentive to her emotions and to her throughout the day. That particular category alone, just massive improvement, and so that was just amazing.
You've put a lot of great things inside of this community, and you've been on all the calls, you've injected so much energy, and you're very strategic, and the way your mind works, I think you can see things and break them down. But one of the best things that I've ever seen you put out there was, I think it was around the 90-day mark. It was this laundry list of accomplishments. It was, I hit it in business, and I'm going through it quickly. You should probably reshare it in the group. It was this laundry list of accomplishments. Here's what I did do with. Here's how I did win at. Here's how I'm feeling now. And it was a laundry list. And man, the very last thing was, oh man, also I haven't drank in whatever it was, 90 days. And I think that's the biggest difference here with what we do and what else is going on in the world. We are not a summary of something we haven't done. And the top line, when you talked about it with, in regards to your wife, yeah, he's not drinking. Like, okay, cool. And that's nice. But here's what he is doing. Like he's putting more time into us, into the girls. He's putting more time into the business. He's taking care of his body. He's showing up. He's not angry. He's not napping. Like, it's not about what we didn't do. It's really about the accomplishments. And in here, it's about stack, track, measure, win, quantifiable results. And that's why this appeals to the guys that it does. It's a group, of powerful guys who want more. And that's the button that we push. Like it's by design that guys like you come in and have success inside of this thing. We know how to push that button of win, right? Like, how do we win? And when you become obsessed with not just the destruction and, how much can I do and get away with, or how little can I do and still have success, and actually go towards that obsession of more. And that's why you where you are. But the way you laid that out was absolutely beautiful to me.
Yeah. The post was, hey, we just wanted to celebrate these 90 days. In these 90 days, I did not drink. And then I skipped a paragraph, and in these 90 days, and I listed all the things, and it was a long list. But what I found was it's easier to go through the growth when you're focusing on the wins. When you focus on all the things that are positive and all the ways that you can conquer and be the best version of yourself, that's when the alcohol part isn't really a conversation. Because you don't have time to think about it, even if you wanted to. But if you did want to stop and think about it, that's okay. You can have that conversation, but it's irrelevant because now there's purpose. You've now began the process of growth, and I'm not perfect by any means, and I have a long ways to go. And after sitting with Mark for 45 minutes or whatever on the porch, I just realized I have a really, really long ways to go. That's okay though, because it's just about continuing that process and not quitting it, not quitting. Not going through the process and going, okay, great, I finished my program. I finished the 6 weeks. I finished the 3. I've now been sober for 90 days, and therefore
there's no certificates,
right? There's no cutoff point where you just stop doing the work, and you don't stop with the philosophy and the mindset of how you're supposed to live your life. You have to do that. And what's beautiful is of the 7 F's, the first one is faith, and that's probably one of the biggest things I've realized is there's a personal faith that you might have on a spiritual level, but there's also this idea that I can look at myself in the mirror and smile at myself because I just made a joke in my head, and and that's the difference. And so believing that I'm capable and I'm better than that, and then all of a sudden your life starts to flourish after that. So
talk about the community aspect of this thing. So you come in and, you just spend, all this time with James, and, you don't know James from anybody, right, when you come in the door. But when you come in the door, you're on these group phone calls, you're inside of this, this social wall. There's hundreds of guys, they're strangers. You don't know anybody from anybody, right? So you don't know, who's this guy, Alex? Why is he messaging me? Who is James, right? Who are these guys? Talk about the community, sort of like the embracement of it all. When you got into this thing, we come into this thing, a group of strangers, couple days, couple weeks, whatever it in. Wow, I have a brotherhood. Talk about like kind of that early on, like assimilation, I guess, inside of this brotherhood.
Well, it's extraordinarily important, and I realized really quickly that if I didn't participate in the community, and I don't mean like I have to post something every day or I have to tell people, that's not what I mean. If I didn't find a way to be a part of the brotherhood, and I didn't participate in whatever it is that we're doing as a group, it doesn't matter what it was. It could be a post, it could be an event, it could be a phone call. If I didn't participate in that, I was missing out on one of the most important things. We got ourselves into this mess because we did everything by ourselves. And then we try to get ourselves out of the mess by doing it by ourselves. And even though we have the capacity inside of us to do that, having a group of other driven, powerful people, that's an important word, powerful people to come alongside you. They have the same, it's amazing how many people, absolutely shocking, staggering, how many men think the way we think and actually operate the way we think. We've been living on our own little islands all over the country, but I would say continent and pretty soon world. But we've been living on this little island as if we're alone and we're the only ones who think this way. When James and I met up, and we spent this time together, I won't get into any details because some of them are really weird. Not weird in a bad way. It's just jokes. So it's inside jokes there. But we were walking down the street and it's like, man, he said something to me. He goes, I have never had this in-depth and this personal of an interaction with another human being outside of my wife ever in my life. Because you can't, outside of this group, the people who are out there, they don't understand. You said it to me a long time ago, that they don't have the bandwidth, right? They don't have the capacity to understand that we together operate this way. This is the way our brains work. And they can't relate because they don't have the same struggles. They don't have the same past. They don't have the same history. But they also don't have the same drive, And so, getting to know, if you ever needed anything, we had a situation. That's not the right word. We had an event, a situation. I'll just use it because I can't cover another one. They where somebody reached out and said, "Hey, can somebody give me a call?" Right, and it wasn't a big deal. I had the opportunity to say, you know what? Yeah, I got some time, and I could reach out and take that call. And it was important for that person at that moment in that time. Now, that's universally available to everybody who wants to choose to use that. It's I wish more people would understand how important the connections with other people are, because also there's more benefits that go beyond that, like learning about how to have protein calorie intake. When you're a small guy and you're trying to gain muscle, or you're a big guy and you're trying to lose weight, there are experts within this smaller group even that know the answers to that stuff. And that's not necessarily the whole platform. You usually get to those conversations once you've built a relationship and you've had those foundations. But the other thing about the brotherhood and the group itself is that everybody has something that they can bring to the table. Everybody has value that they can add to somebody else, period. Every single person, even the person who right now is going, I am worth nothing, I am useless. That's actually not true. Everybody has value that they can contribute to everybody else. And so sometimes it could be as simple as somebody saying, hey, I've been struggling with, the fact that my hand's been missing for the last 3 days. I don't know where my hand is. There's somebody in the group who's going to go, oh my God, my hand's been missing too. And that was a very extreme example, but you get my point, is that everybody has value to bring to the table. And so when you share your situation with somebody else, there's other people that can benefit from that. And when they share theirs with you, you can grow too. One of the good relationships, I don't have a deep relationship, but there's another guy in the group who loves gardening. That's a weird thing to do, right? Well, no, it's not. Not in this group, right? And I have a garden, and we talked about gardening, and that inspired that person to go do something else with his garden and to expand his community. Likewise, there's another guy in the group who shared how much he got paid by the hour, which was weird, but that inspired me personally to reevaluate how much I'm worth. So together we become stronger, but the important part is that we stay connected.
It really is. It's about the connections, and it's a family of choice. At the end of the day, none of us need to do any of that shit. Like, I lived under a rock for 20 years. I could just go back to that rock. But once you get inside of this thing and you start to realize the growth pattern, so you come into this thing just like I did. Like, I got to solve this problem. This is my fucking problem. I drink too much, and it's costing me X, Y, and Z. But this is the problem. When you can realize that's a surface level. It's a thing. Now beneath that is all the other shit, and that's where you can start to pick other guys' brains. That's where you can go to work on confidence or discipline or fitness. We break down these F's. There's guys inside of this group. Financially, they'll have more than I'll ever fucking imagine. Okay, well, when I have a question, those are the guys I go to. And when you can leverage that power of the community, what I find early on for guys is they try to outsmart it. Mm-hmm. They say, we're all smart guys, right? We're all bright enough individuals, immediately in anything we do, conditionally, like, well, what's the least I need to do to get some ROI out of it? Coming in with that, I spun my wheels, I wasted time, but, encouragement to guys getting started, like, go all in. I tried to outsmart it for weeks, wasted time, go all in. And if you do that, the changes happen just quicker, right? And you start to ask certain questions, you develop, that is where the community comes in and kind of pick each other's brain. Talk to a guy that's been here 2 weeks longer than you. What did you do that worked? What did you do that didn't? This is no different than any other work that you've ever done. And structurally, like, why do it alone if you don't have to? Like, I don't know how to build a fucking house. If I need to build a house, I call you. Yeah. I don't try to do it. I don't look it up on YouTube.
And the thing is, whatever we do in our individual professional lives, we've always done that solo. And so it's a little bit unique to turn off the solo mode and start getting into a community and opening up and sharing that. Sometimes it's hard for some guys, not me, I enjoy it, but some people don't like it. And they're like, I don't want to raise my hand. Well, you should. Because even though you've done everything else all by yourself this whole entire time, if you want to be better, you gotta be a part of something that's better.
Well, to what you said too, the guy on day one, we are all day one. I shouldn't chime in on this thing. Any comment that anybody makes, right? We all read. I get stuff out of this. Like, guys are giving stuff and getting stuff, and like, that's how it builds. Like, anybody who posts something, maybe they don't get 100 likes. It's not about the likes. Somebody's reading that and saying, holy shit, me too. All right, I'm not alone. It takes one thing. We talked about ripples on one of these things recently. Like, the small thing that one of us can do for one another is going to create this ripple, this cascade that's going to touch somebody and touch somebody and touch somebody and apply to somebody and mean something to somebody. And like, we all have that ability. People will say, well, Dave's got the microphone. Like, we all have the microphone. We're inside of this thing. We got the platform. Use it.
Absolutely.
Appreciate a lot of what you said. What's next for you, man?
Well, I gotta.
After these last couple of days, that's a big question. I know
That's actually a really big question because I've got a lot of things that just I'm ready to grow in a different way, a different vector point, if you will. So I'm going to be heading home. Father's Day is coming up, and that is a massive and important day for me. It is my holiday. It's the holiday I care about more than any other holiday or birthday or anything in the world is Father's Day, because it's a representation of who I am. And for the record, it'll be the first sober Father's Day, or the first Father's Day where I just didn't waste it, sweating it out. And so I'm super excited about that. But that's the literally
it's
the
literally
right now.
what's next. It's Friday,
but
Father's Day.
But what's actually next is, there's so much growth. I'm excited because we're gonna be quadrupling our business. And at this point, my goals just got bigger, and the opportunities are there. We've got, I've got relationships that I want to grow with my family, and start hitting some bigger things, and stay on the path, and spend more time on personal growth. That's a thing. Just to discover where I need to go, but not worry about the future. I'm going to spend my time right now enjoying the present with the knowledge that I'm going somewhere big, but I'm going to focus on how I'm living the best version of myself today.
That's excellent. One last question. So you've gone to, now this is your second in-person thing. What does it feel like to see other comebacks? Like, you went to the one a few months back, and the first time you saw other comebacks, what was that like? This one was a little different. It was a lot more intimate, and you've already kind of cracked the seal, I guess, of meeting other like-minded internet friends. But that first time when you walked into that room, how did that feel?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, it validates the reality that this is not some weird internet side thing, right? It's not some closet group of guys that are just trolling on, these are real people. And so that was huge. I mean, I was super awkward. I gave Chad Reynolds a hug as soon as I saw him, and I've never met the guy. Like, that was weird. I don't touch people. Don't touch me.
It just felt right though. Right?
It was okay. Yeah. So that was fun. But it was fascinating because when I came, I was able to ask direct questions to direct people who had knowledge in areas that I don't, and I was able to actually have those conversations. Whereas online, it's a little bit more difficult. If you can get into a group of guys that's smaller that you can make phone calls with, that's one thing too. But to be able to talk freely, there were also questions like for example, we sat at the dinner table, and there's another two guys talking about something that I would have never thought to talk about, but I was sitting right there so I could listen to their conversation and go, well, that's interesting. And I could grow myself just by being around them, because they thought differently. Some of these guys have been around a lot longer, and they've come a longer ways, and just to be able to be there and see how they're interacting. Because when you're online, sometimes you have to read the words the way you think that they mean it. And when things are in writing, in text or whatever, emails, you're missing out on 70% of the communication, that nonverbal cues. You're just missing that. And so when you're with the people, now you can go, okay, now I see the heartbeat behind it, or now I see the actual expression or the feeling of it. And so I soaked that up. I mean, that was a big deal for me to be able to then and now too, and just to be able to see the other success. And by doing so, I'm not gonna lie, I was uncomfortable. I was, because I still have growth to do now, but I was really struggling with my self-image really, really bad. And so being around some of these amazing, successful people, who just dominated in all kinds of different areas, which is incredible, the variety of people, but they all had the same mindset. I didn't have the confidence in myself that I was worth being a part of that group. And so when I realized that we all share the same common thread, and I would never have had another opportunity ever to sit down with a restaurant owner, an owner of I don't even know how many restaurants he owns anymore. It's insane, 5, 6, 7, 8, or to sit down with, the Navy SEAL guys, and like I would never have that opportunity to hang out with these guys. They wouldn't hang out with me, I'll tell you that. I'm not a bodybuilder, right? There's some huge guys in this group, right? And but I wouldn't be working out with them. I wouldn't be able to do all that stuff. I was able to do that then, and I was able to do that here, and learn something. So yeah, it was definitely an experience in and of itself. So yeah,
it's the power connection, and it's being in person, and it's literally like being able to sit across the table. Like this is the first time we've done one of these. I've done one of these in person, and this one just feels different. I can look at you. I can see your body language. Like I can, feel, your, what you're thinking kind of, and like when you get to be in a room with guys like this, right? There's such an energy when we do like these, the quarterly alliance meetups, like it's something guys look forward to. It's like an energy that's created. And as you go through these, I mean, life is, like I said, it's not a straight line. It's not perfect. It's not always A through Z. There's kind of wiggle room sometimes. And when you can get that injection of energy by being in person, like when you guys leave here today, there's so much excitement, there's energy, like, and then it's like, let's get more of that down the road. So, keep coming to these things, and the more that you put yourself, physically in proximity of power, right? Yeah. Like I put myself as close to the power as I could, like, because I fucking wanted it, and I love it. It feels good. And yeah, same to you. Same thing's open to everybody.
Yeah, there's so much more authenticity when you're around people directly, and there's something about being around powerful people that kind of oozes onto you. You just catch some of that energy. So absolutely, it's been awesome.
Beautiful. Well, Joel, anything else you want to say before we wrap this thing up?
No, I appreciate you, letting me do this. This was fun for me. I actually love it. I'm excited to go back and make some more changes to my world and make another impact. So
beautiful. Constant tweaks, pivots, and adjustments.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Appreciate it, brother. It was good sitting down with you, Joel. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
I am a comeback. If you're not dead, then you're not done. I ain't dead, so I'm here to show everyone. I am